All right, so we've been hearing a lot about Bryce Mitchell. I was going to try to avoid this. I just can't avoid it. I keep thinking about it, and I'm just like, Bryce needs a shout out for all the dumb shit that he just keeps throwing around. Probably on to like a lot of this nonsense that Bryce Mitchell said weeks back. He got on a rant on a podcast and started talking about Hitler.
I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy.
Man, this guy is he's just off base, man. So let me first say this. I wish no ill will towards Bryce Mitchell. The Buddhist principle of which I live by, like I want, even for the ignorant, even for the offensive, like I want nothing but peace. I want nothing but good things for you. And I have compassion for Bryce Mitchell. And I hope that he gets enlightened. And I hope somewhere down the road, sooner than later, that he starts to see the error of his ways. I really do, because his whole of ignorance is just, and his mentality is just something that's going to really cause him more than just bad dreams. But with all that being said, fuck you, Bryce, okay? Because I really mean that. He's talking about
before Hitler got on meth, he was a guy to go fishing with.
Like, what do you mean before he got on meth? He's very aware that Hitler had a long-term agenda to exterminate the Jews, and Germany was going through a very hard time. They were just zoning in on the Jews being the culprit of a lot of Germany's ills and problems. He started making suggestion that the Jews were
queering out the women, they were queering out the dudes,
and doing business, charging interest. And I'm thinking, yes, this is the way classic business is done. Like, still, what are you saying, Bryce? Like, are you not going to try to pull back from all the nonsense that you're spewing right now? And he just won't pull back, and he won't stop from what he's saying. He's not trying to retract any of his words, anything, any of his comments, anything. He believes all of what he said was accurate, and it's just, man, it's so out in left field. Man, let's fast forward. Bryce Mitchell, John Silva, UFC 314 in April. I think it'll be a good fight no matter what. I would also favor Jean, not of all in all situations. If you've watched any of Jean's fights as of late, woo, that boy is looking lethal. And I'm not taking anything away from Bryce, because Bryce is just a dog. But I think we got a great fight on our hands, but I give Jean the edge on this. In the press conference just recently with the two of them, as soon as Bryce started to say something about Jesus,
and Jesus said, hey.
Immediately, John Silva interrupted and just started chanting like, fuck Bryce Mitchell. And now, like, Bryce is like chiming in saying he's evil and he's demonic. And now Bryce is saying and admitting that he's having bad dreams that have to do with sexual temptation. He's talking about just all kinds of different things that he's experiencing in these dreams right now of demonic nature, and believing that John is somehow responsible for a lot of what's come up. Now, when you peel away everything,
layers.
One, he's not sleeping well, so you can take that into account as to how that's going to show up. Two, he's not used to people booing him either. He was a fan favorite. He's just had a kind of a wild personality when he
yelling at the mic.
And he's certainly a very dynamic fighter, as is John Silva. I think it's going to be a good fight. Now, just to make it clear, all right, I want my fighters classy. But when they're also outrageous, or you've got outrageous things like, for instance, like Sean Strickland saying the things that he does or whatever, you take some of it with a grain of salt. You try to figure out what are they saying just to try to like amp up the emotion because of promotional push, to try to get eyes on it and get people emotionally invested. I get all that, but Bryce believes all of this stuff. So now with the press conference, with all of what happened there, and Bryce saying that he's having all these bad dreams and he's trying to point the finger, Bryce, let me tell you something, man. You're bringing on what's coming to you. If anybody either believes in karma or not, like, come on, man, this is you, bro. You're bringing on so much hate, and you're causing a big old mess. And, whatever's going to happen is going to happen here, other than the ignorance of it, other than just the fight of it or the promotion of it or anything like this. For those of you that aren't necessarily familiar with what took place during World War II during this time, in one aspect, as far as just tactic and conceived thought, He is absolutely one of the worst human beings that we have ever encountered. He just happened to be brilliant in his influence. So however Bryce has conceived this and put this together and believing that public education of what we know of Hitler has been misrepresented, bro, like you have just like you're so far out in left field, Bryce. It is unbelievable, dude. And listen, when it really push comes to shove here, and you want to talk about eliminating people and trying to point blame for the cause of a country's ills and problems, and trying to take people that are at a very low confidence level as a country, and they're just hate-filled and they're angry. And that is why so many people fed into and responding to Hitler's vitriolic stance and what have you. And just so you know, another little piece of history in case you don't know, and this is my personal belief, is that it has been proven that Hitler either was born with one testicle or he had some kind of accident that led to him only having one testicle. And if you look at his physical stature, I believe that's why he had the fascination with the Aryan race as to the, the breed, the type of, classic, powerful looking German that he was not. Okay, so I think he had a grind from the very beginning because of his personal stature and personal confidence of how he felt about himself.
Most of the world's problems stem from poor self-image.
And I think that contributed to all the ills and all the things that led up to all of the tragedy of what the Holocaust was. And speaking of which, Bryce also believed that the Holocaust has been a fabrication of which people have tried to portray. Let me tell you something. I personally have walked through Auschwitz. That was the biggest concentration camp of all the concentration camps. So you're trying to tell me of all the concentration camps and all that has existed and all of people's testimonials that this was one very well, largely conceived fraud? Is that what you're saying, Bryce? You've got to open your eyes and you've got to see what real truth actually is. So for some of you out there, my fight fans that either know or don't know about history, anything like that, there is something, these things about history. And because history tends to repeat itself, I don't personally, in my lifetime, not even when I was a kid, did I ever contribute in anything having to do with bullying or denigrating anyone, or putting anyone down in any way, or frowning upon anyone. I don't deal with anyone or treat anyone with any level of judgment, but I'm not ignorant either. I can see these different things of levels of ignorance or intelligence or somewhere in between. So this is where I personally stand, and I stand by this, and my reputation has followed me for all my life, and there's not one single person on this freaking earth that will tell you otherwise, that I've ever behaved otherwise, because I have not. So when I see this, I try to have compassion for it, and you should as well. So let me leave it at that. That's our little life lesson for today, a little bit of history lesson. But if anything, this is a good goon sesh, was it not? Because Bryce, bro, you got it coming to you. All right, fight fans, I'm going to catch you on the next one. Fight Shrink right here. And make sure you follow, and we want you to comment. So if you have not already, follow and comment. Let me know for real, like, how you thinking, how you feeling, what do you think about all this other stuff, and how are you just trying to take in perspective everything that's going on. So we'll catch you on the next one, fans, and good to have you. See ya.
I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own research, not my public education indoctrination. I really do think before Hitler got on meth, he was a guy to go fishing with. He fought for his country. He wanted to purify it by kicking the greedy Jews out that were destroying his country and turning them all into gays. They were gaying out the kids. They were queering out the women. They were queering out the dudes. They were, what her first surgery ever was?
Mm-mm.